The hotel concierge took the woman's reservation printout, looked at it once, and dropped it in the folder marked "No Show Cancel." He slid it across the desk toward the edge, not toward her. Just toward the edge, like it had already stopped being his problem. The woman standing on the other side of the counter was 31 years old. She was wearing a dark green coat she had bought at a Value Village in Scarborough 6 years ago and kept because it was warm and because she did not believe in throwing away things that still worked. Her hair was braided back with a blue cloth band. She had a rolling suitcase, small, the kind that fits in an overhead bin, and a canvas tote bag with the logo of a Ghanaian NGO on the side that nobody in this lobby would recognize. She did not look like the kind of woman who belonged in the Hotel Carillon, Toronto. That was the assessment made in approximately 4 seconds by the man behind the desk. He was wrong. He would not know how wrong for another 40 minutes. Her name was Adwoa Mensima. She was not a guest at this hotel. She was something much harder to explain to a man like the concierge. She was the reason it existed. If you have ever watched someone look right through a person like they were glass, stay with me. Hit subscribe right now and turn on notifications. Because what is about to happen in this lobby will stay with you for a long time. Now let me take you back to this morning. Adwoa had taken the 7:14 subway from Finch Station. She did this every time she came downtown, even now, even after everything. Her mother had raised her on the TTC, 2 transfers, 40 minutes, standing room only on weekday mornings, and she had never once complained because her mother had walked 4 kilometers each way to the market in Kumasi every day for 11 years before she ever sat behind the wheel of a car. The subway was not suffering. The subway was just getting somewhere. She got off at Union and walked north on Bay Street with her suitcase wheels, clicking on the sidewalk. It was November. The kind of November that Toronto does without apology, gray sky pressing down, wind coming off the lake with something personal in it. She pulled her coat tighter and kept walking. She had somewhere to be. The Hotel Carillon, Toronto, occupied the first 22 floors of a glass tower on Wellington Street. 47 rooms per floor, marble lobby. A restaurant on the 2nd floor called Park that had been written up in the Globe and Mail twice in the last year. A rooftop terrace that nobody used from November through April, but that looked extraordinary in the brochure photographs taken in August. Adwoa had seen those photographs before anyone else had. She had sat across a boardroom table from the developers 3 years ago and looked at the renderings and said quietly, "The terrace needs more shade. Summer in Toronto is hotter than people expect. They will need somewhere to sit." And the lead developer had nodded and written something down. And the terrace now had 3 large pergolas and a waiting list for weekend reservations. She had not been back since the soft opening. She was here today because her younger brother Kwiku was getting married on Saturday, and the rehearsal dinner was being held in the Carillon's private dining room, the Mensima Suite, which bore that name because of an arrangement made 3 years ago that involved a number with 7 figures and a family name that meant something specific in this city, even if the concierge on duty this Thursday morning had not yet been hired when that arrangement was made. His name was Trevor. He was 26. He had been at the Carillon for 8 months, long enough to feel like he owned the lobby, and short enough to know almost nothing about the people who actually did. Adwoa approached the front desk at 9:47 in the morning. She had a confirmed reservation for an early check-in to the suite, arranged through the hotel's events coordinator 3 weeks prior. She had a printout. She had a confirmation number. She set both on the counter. Trevor looked at the printout. He looked at Adwoa, the coat, the suitcase, the canvas tote with the NGO logo. He picked up the printout. He placed it in the cancel folder. He slid it away. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm not seeing this reservation in our system. It was confirmed on the 21st of October. I have the email." Adwoa reached into her tote and pulled out her phone. The email was already open. Confirmation number, room number, date. Her name, spelled correctly, which had not always been the case. Trevor looked at the screen. He looked at the name. He typed something on his keyboard that took approximately 3 seconds and could not possibly have constituted a genuine search. "I'm not finding it. Our system may not have processed the request properly." The request was confirmed. "I have the confirmation." Confirmations can sometimes be generated by the booking interface without completing the reservation on our end. He said this the way people say things they have rehearsed. Smooth, empty. "I'd recommend contacting our reservation department. They open at 10. It is 9:47, 13 minutes. Adwoa looked at him. She had a way of looking at people that her mother called the eye, the kind of stillness that comes from watching things carefully for a long time and learning not to react to every small provocation. She had developed it at 14, selling her mother's kente cloth at the Scarborough market on weekends, while girls from her school walked past with their parents and sometimes stopped to look and rarely bought anything. You learned to be still. You learned that stillness was not weakness. It was the beginning of something else entirely. "I'll wait," she said. She moved to the seating area. She sat in one of the low chairs near the window and placed her suitcase beside her and put her tote on her lap and looked out at Wellington Street. 13 minutes. A young woman came through the lobby carrying a cleaning caddy and a stack of folded towels. She was maybe 22, natural hair tucked under the hotel's navy cap. Name tag, Simone. She glanced at Adwoa the way people glance at someone who is clearly waiting and clearly not comfortable and clearly trying not to show it. She slowed down. "Can I get you anything while you wait? Coffee? Water?" Adwoa looked up. A girl in a hotel uniform with a cleaning caddy, stopping in the middle of her morning, because she had noticed. Water would be kind. "Thank you." Simone disappeared and came back in 4 minutes with a glass of ice water and a small plate with 2 shortbread cookies on it, which was not remotely part of her job description, but which she had taken from the breakfast station on her way back, because the woman by the window looked like she had been traveling, and the morning was cold. "Are you checking in?" Simone asked, setting the water on the side table. "I'm trying to. There's been a problem with my reservation." Simone's expression shifted, just slightly. The particular shift of someone who has seen this kind of problem before and knows exactly what kind of problem it is. "Trevor," she said, not accusatory, just a word. One word that carried a paragraph. "He suggested I wait for reservations to open." Simone pressed her lips together. She looked toward the front desk. She looked back at Adwoa. "I'll let Mira know you're here. She's the morning manager. She comes in at 10 on Thursdays, but she's usually early. You don't have to do that." "I want to." She left. And Adwoa sat by the window and drank her water and waited the way her mother had taught her to wait, not with resignation, but with the quiet patience of someone who has done the math and knows that what is true does not stop being true just because someone refuses to see it. At 10:03, a woman in a charcoal blazer came through the staff entrance behind the front desk. Mira Johansson, 44, morning general manager, 12 years at the Carillon, the last 3, as the person responsible for making sure the hotel ran the way the owners wanted it to run. She had a thermos of coffee and a tablet and a look on her face that meant she had already checked her email. Simone intercepted her at the desk. Spoke quietly. Mira listened. Then she looked toward the window where Adwoa sat. Something happened in Mira's face that did not happen in Trevor's. Recognition. Not of Adwoa specifically, but of the shape of the situation, the wrongness of it. She crossed the lobby. Miss Mensima? I'm Mira Johansson, the morning manager. I'm sorry for the delay. May I ask you to come with me to the desks so we can sort this out? Adwoa stood. She picked up her suitcase. She followed. Trevor was still behind the desk. He watched Mira pull up the reservation system on the secondary terminal, the one with full administrative access, not the check-in interface he had been using. It took her 9 seconds to find the reservation. Penthouse Suite C, confirmed October 21st, early check-in approved, flagged as VIP, family event. Mira set the tablet down. She looked at Trevor. She said nothing. She didn't have to. I don't understand, Trevor said. It wasn't coming up for me. You searched the surname? I searched the first name. The system is fine, Mira said. Quiet, final. She turned back to Adwoa. Ms. Mensima, I apologize on behalf of the hotel. Your suite is ready. I'll have someone escort you up. Before we go, Adwoa said. Her voice was pleasant. It had always been pleasant, even when it shouldn't have to be. I'd like to ask a question, Mira nodded. You saw my name on the system. VIP flag. Family event. Penthouse Suite C, Adwoa tilted her head just slightly. Did you recognize the name? Mira was quiet for a moment. The honest kind of quiet. Yes, she said. I did. And if you hadn't, Adwoa asked. If my name had been something shorter, something easier, something that sounded more like the names in your system's VIP folder, would the morning still have gone this way? The lobby was not crowded at 10 in the morning on a Thursday, but there were people. A couple checking out. A businessman on his phone near the elevator. A family waiting for their taxi. And Simone, who had returned to restocking the supply closet near the corridor, and who was listening without appearing to listen, because she was 22, and she understood exactly what was being asked. Trevor's professional expression had developed a crack in it. Mira, to her genuine credit, did not perform an answer. No, she said. It might not have. She paused, and that's a serious problem. One I intend to address. Good, Adwoa said it simply. Not a verdict. A door opening. She looked at Trevor. She had looked at many Trevors in 31 years. Boys who had decided in 4 seconds what she was worth and spent the rest of the interaction maintaining that decision in the face of all evidence. She had learned that anger did not open those doors. Clarity did. I want to ask you something, she said to him, and I want you to actually think about it before you answer. When I walked in this morning, what did you see? Trevor opened his mouth, closed it. I'm not asking for the apology, Adwoa said. The apology is for later. I'm asking what you actually saw, because whatever it was not the reservation I handed you. It was not the confirmation number I showed you. It was something else. The crack in his expression widened. He was 26 years old, and he had thought he was managing a situation, and he was discovering, slowly, that the situation had been managing him. You saw a woman in a coat from Value Village, Adwoa said. You saw a canvas bag. You saw braids and a suitcase and a name that you did not recognize. And you decided, before I said a single word, that the most likely explanation for my presence at this desk was a mistake, an error, something to be redirected. She paused. Not a guest, a problem. The businessman near the elevator had stopped looking at his phone. Turn around, Adwoa said. Trevor looked confused. Turn around and read the name on the wall behind you. He turned. Slowly. The wall behind the reception desk was dressed in warm walnut paneling and soft lighting and, at the center, mounted in brushed brass letters that Adwoa had approved herself from a photograph emailed to her on a Tuesday afternoon in April. Mensima Suit Anditsins, Halmad possible by the generosity of the Mensima family. Asian Trevor turned back. The color had not left his face so much as rearranged itself. Mira closed her eyes for one moment. Adwoa let the silence settle the way her grandmother used to let palm soup settle before serving it. Patience was a form of respect. It gave people the time to understand what they were looking at. My mother came to Toronto in 1991, Adwoa said. She was 27 years old. She brought $200 Canadian and a bag of fabric and the address of a cousin she had never met. She sold fabric at the Scarborough flea market for 4 years. Then she opened a shop. Then she opened 3 shops. Then she started importing, and the importing became something larger than any of us expected. She looked at the brass letters on the wall. She gave this hotel her name because she believed that when a Ghanaian woman's name is on a building, it tells every girl who comes after her that she is allowed to walk in the front door. She turned back to Trevor. You looked at me and decided I was the kind of woman who uses the side entrance. You were not trying to be cruel. I know that, but carelessness and cruelty feel exactly the same to the person on the receiving end. Trevor said, very quietly. I'm sorry. I know, Adwoa said. But I need that apology to mean something longer than this morning. Mira stepped forward. Trevor, I'd like you to go to the back office. I'll be there shortly. Not punitive in tone. Managerial. Like a door being firmly closed rather than slammed. Trevor went. Mira looked at Adwoa. What would you like us to do beyond this conversation? Adwoa was quiet for a moment. She looked at Simone, who had drifted a few steps closer and who was trying very hard to look busy with a folded towel that had been folded already. That young woman, Adwoa said. Who is she? Simonia J. Housekeeping, 8 months. She's one of our best. She brought me water, Adwoa said. She didn't know who I was. She saw a woman sitting alone in a cold lobby, waiting for something that wasn't coming quickly, and she brought water and cookies, and she found the manager. She paused. She did all of that for a stranger. That is an extraordinary thing. Myra nodded slowly. She is not meant to stay in housekeeping, Adwoa said. It was not a question. She's applied for front desk twice, Mira said. Both times the position was filled. By whom? Mira said nothing. She didn't have to. The businessman near the elevator had given up all pretense of looking at his phone. I want her on the front desk, Adwoa said. Properly trained, full support, starting after the new year. She paused. And I want a training afternoon scheduled for your entire front-of-house team. About assumptions, about what happens in the 4 seconds before a person speaks. She looked around the lobby. This is a beautiful hotel. My mother's name is on it. I want it to be the kind of place where a woman in a Value Village coat is treated the way I was treated by that girl in housekeeping. Every time. Not because she might be important, because she walked in the door. Mira said, That's a reasonable ask. It's not an ask, Adwoa said pleasantly. It's the terms under which my family continues to host events here. We have my brother's wedding this Saturday. We have 24 family members flying in from Accra, London, and Calgary. I would like them to walk in that door and feel the way I felt when Simone brought me cookies. She picked up her suitcase. Now, I believe my suite is ready. Mira moved to escort her. At the elevator, Adwoa stopped. She looked at Simone, who was now absolutely certain she had been caught listening and was standing with the towel pressed to her chest like a shield. What's your full name? Adwoa asked. Simone Ajay. Simone Ajay. Adwoa said it carefully, the way her mother said names, like each syllable deserved its space. Where are your parents from? My dad's from Accra. My mom is from Winnipeg. And what do you want to be doing in 5 years? Simone blinked. Nobody in this hotel had ever asked her that. I want to manage events, she said. Like high-end private events. Corporate dinners, galas. I've been watching how the events team works, and I think I could do it. Have you told Mira that? Simone glanced at Mira. I mentioned it once. Adwoa looked at Mira. Mira made a small, visible note on her tablet. The Mensima Family Foundation runs a hospitality mentorship program, Adwoa said to Simone. It's for young women of African heritage who are working in the industry. 6 months. You'd be paired with a senior events director in the city. You'd keep your job here. It's 2 Saturdays a month. She tilted her head. If you're interested. Simone's hand went to her mouth. She lowered it. She was 22, and she had decided at 16 that the world required a great deal of her before it gave anything back, and she had accepted that as simply the condition of things. She was not prepared for this. Yes, she said. Yes, I'm interested. Good, Adwoa said. Bring me some water. My throat is dry from all this talking. And Simone laughed, the sudden helpless kind, and turned to get water. And the businessman near the elevator finally put his phone fully in his pocket and looked at the lobby like he was seeing it for the first time. Mira escorted Adwoa to the elevator. At the doors, Adwoa paused. She turned and looked at the lobby once more. The marble floor, the walnut paneling, the warm light, the brass letters on the wall behind the desk. Her mother's name. Her grandmother's market stall in Kumasi, made into something nobody in Kumasi would recognize, but which Adwoa recognized every time she looked at it, because she knew what it had cost. Her mother had a saying. She said it when Adwoa was small and brought home stories about being overlooked, about not being seen, about people looking through her like glass. Onipa osusu wo no osusu naho, the person who underestimates you underestimates themselves. Her mother said it in Twi, unhurried, and then she went back to folding fabric or checking invoices or writing letters to suppliers in Accra, because she did not have time to be injured by what small people thought of her. She was building something. She was always building something. The elevator doors opened. Adwoa stepped in. She turned around. The lobby spread out in front of her one last time. The concierge desk, the cancel folder, the brass letters. Simone, still smiling by the water station. My mother used to say, she said to Mira, to the lobby, to the businessman who was still standing there, that respect is not something you earn by walking through the right door. It is something you owe to every person before you know anything about them, because they are cold, or they are tired, or they need water, or they are standing at a counter with a confirmation number that someone else decided not to look at. The elevator began to close. That should always be enough. The doors shut. The lobby was quiet. Simone stood by the water station holding a glass. She looked at the desk where Trevor had been. She looked at the brass letters on the wall. She had walked past those letters every morning for 8 months and had never read them all the way through. She read them now. And then she went back to work, because there was a lobby to look after, and a list of arriving guests and a morning that had started one way, and was now, quietly, something else. She said the same words to every person who walked through those doors for the rest of her shift. Not loudly, just clearly, the way you say something when you mean it. Welcome. Can I help you? And she looked at them when she said it. Everyone. Because every African folktale carries a lesson, and fresh African folktales never forgets. The nest the weaver bird builds is not the tree it sits in. It is the thing that holds everything else together. And the people who notice the nest before they notice the tree, those are the people who deserve to live inside it.